Hello there, my name is Corey Brown, and I'm a former employee at Chungdamn Learning English Academy in Daejeon, South Korea, also known as CDI. And I was asked to make this video by my former boss, Joe Janick. He wants some of the former employees to sort of talk about what life was like over there in Korea. For me, I was an employee of Joe's between 2011 to 2013. I spent 2 years over there, and overall, it was a great experience. Everything that was said in my contract was true. They, paid me on time. Things all worked out well as far as what I signed up for. I got what I signed up for, and Joe wanted me to go through a couple questions here. The first thing is so many employees get hired over there for the year contract. They do their year contract and they leave. And that may have been my initial thought. I might have been like, yeah, I'll just do 1 year in Korea and go back to California, back to America. But, look, I left California because I didn't really have any opportunities. I was this young kid right out of college, had a teaching credential, but no one would hire me. And it was really frustrating. But Korea was excited to have me. They were thrilled to have me. And it was cool to just be able to finally put my teaching practice to the test. And I learned so much more being an actual teacher with my actual students than I ever did in teacher college. It was that experience beyond helped me professionally. And the reason why I signed up for a second year once I was there was, I was checking sort of the teaching situation in my hometown of San Diego, California, and it was not good. Maybe if I was a math teacher, but I don't really know math that well. So I stuck around Daejeon for a second year, and my second year was even more fun than my first year. And a part of me actually regrets only doing 2 years. If I could relive my life again, I'd probably plug in 3 or 4 years over there. But you got your family, you got your friends back home, and those people were just calling me back the whole time. But I even had my mom came and visited, my sister came and visited. Airfare is getting cheaper than ever, so that's really helpful. But yeah, I was Skyping my friends, I was making videos with my friends, playing video games with my friends. I was still very connected. But it was a great opportunity for me to really become a teacher. So many places in California, they wouldn't give me a job because they were like, "Oh, you don't have any experience." Well, how am I supposed to get experience? And I definitely did get that experience in Daejeon. Um, and I want to also talk about like the city of Daejeon is a really cool city. Like I remember when I first applied, I was like, "Oh, I really want to go to Seoul," and I think I might have even put like only Seoul in the box, but they stuck me in Daejeon, and at first I was like, well, Daejeon, where's that? Well, it's middle of the country. It's like the fourth biggest city in Korea, and because it is not the super city of Seoul, there actually is a pretty tight foreigner community in Daejeon. When I was there, 3 4 years ago, the community was maybe 2,000 people. And you're like, that's kind of big. Well, but I mean, the 2,000 people, like the ones that actually go out and do stuff, you see the same faces a lot. And it was really great to meet friends. And not only are the foreigners in Daejeon English teachers, there's also this really big university called KAIST. And I met some English-speaking people who went to KAIST. I met a guy from Saudi Arabia, a guy from Iran, a couple people from Japan. So it was a cool cultural experience. And like, gosh, I remember at my 25th birthday party, there was people from all corners of the world there celebrating with me, all my friends, and that was a great experience that I don't even know if that's possible to relive here in America. Um, because yeah, when you're in that community, you sort of become a family, and my big regret when I came finally home to my actual family here in the United States, I felt like I sort of abandoned my Korea family. And well, I mean, I still email them and have them on Facebook and stuff, but it's a little piece of me got left over there. And what other things can I say about Daejeon? Daejeon was a city that it had everything you need. it was the perfect balance between Seoul being just too big and too crazy and not enough like feeling of getting involved in a specific group of people. But then like there's these tiny sort of towns and villages around Korea. They have maybe like one English teacher every 50 miles, and that's also not ideal because then you have no one you can really hang out with and connect with culturally. Um, so Daejeon really was sort of the best mix of all that. Uh, and what other things can I say? I mean, was every day a good day working at Daejeon CDI? No, it wasn't. Joe can comment like I was a pretty good employee, but some days I was not having a good time. But that it's like that with every job, man. It's like that with it is arduous how in South Korea, you do work every single day. We had 2 holidays the whole year. So it was a lot. But the money was great. And starting at, 2:30 p.m. and ending at 11:30 p.m. I'm always been sort of a night guy anyway. Like, I'll sleep in every morning. So that's something that I really regret right now. But I really feel that my experience in Daejeon working for Joe, it gave me finally the ability to actually get hired in America. When I finally got my job as a high school teacher, that's what I do now. I'm a high school teacher. They gave me a starting experience raise. So my experience in South Korea has given me a bonus $5,000 a year raise all through my career as a teacher now. So that's awesome. And it it uh it really did give me a chance to sort of like grasp how to manage a classroom, how to engage with kids, how to teach them. And Joe had me teach the highest. I taught almost every level of the English classes we did there. I think I sort of mastered, I think, English level Giga or English level 4. That was sort of my big class, but I taught the highest levels, and the highest level classes over there, it's sort of just like a middle school or high school class here in America. There are some really, really smart kids over there. And I went into going to Korea, I thought like, oh man, I'm going to have to memorize English grammar rules, and I'm going to have to be this super duper knowledgeable person about English. But they really structure all the lessons for you. And if you are a English speaking college educated person, you have the knowledge. Like, you good. You might have to look up a couple things beforehand, but it's nothing too outrageous. To be a good employee over there, you got to be someone willing to follow procedures. You got to be on time. That's insanely important. Do never ever be late. The culture at Daejeon CDI specifically, like they had a guy whose primary job was to just make sure the English teachers sort of had everything they needed and were well connected in society. My first week there, that guy was sort of hanging out with me all the time. His name was Dubom. He hooked me up with a phone. He got the internet working in my apartment. He set up a bank account with me. He was the guy who, if I needed something, or a translator or assistant kind of guy, he was always willing to help. That's really awesome, because I had friends who worked at other English schools in Daejeon. They were so jealous of all the perks that we got at CDI. And another thing that's great is, Joe is this American guy from the Midwest. He's the boss. Like, he's the one who gets to really like set the pace of the school and make the decisions, while so many of my friends are like, oh man, I've got these Korean bosses who can barely speak English and I don't even know what they want me to do. So it was really beneficial to have someone who is culturally and linguistically on my same level as my actual direct supervisor. So that was great. I've worked at a lot of educational institutions in my life. I've been like a private tutor and a substitute teacher and all these other things. And still, I think Joe is my favorite boss I ever had. And it's not because he's somebody you can just walk all over. Like, no, Joe held me to a high standard. But Joe was always somebody who was willing to work with me. And in my experience as an educator, I've found so many times where my boss sort of like says, the parents have a problem, you have to deal with that problem. You, like, I'm answering to the parents, so get in line, teacher. But Joe is the kind of guy who always had the teachers' backs. And I think there were some situations where, like, some student was unhappy with sort of the quality of education that was being given at Daejeon CDI. Joe investigated that teacher and found out that that teacher was doing a great job. So when that parent complained again, Joe was like, "Okay, we don't need your child in the school then," because it was sort of good to have somebody who sided with me more than sided with the parents. I wish I had that right now, let me tell you. So overall, if you're considering going to work in Daejeon with Joe, I would highly recommend it. It was the great adventure of my life, and I'd recommend it to anybody. So, all right, peace out.